Before we begin the episode this week, we wanted to take a minute to remember Rex Culpepper, who was a friend of the page who passed away unexpectedly on March 14th at the age of 28. Rex was an unbelievably kind guy with a quick and witty sense of humor, and we had the opportunity to get to know him over the last several years through Grunge Bible. There's a lot of people out there who are going to be missing him, and we're sending our love to all of them.
Stuff like this comes up when you lose somebody that you have met along the way, and in our case it's through an Instagram page, and we talk about why we love this page so much and how the music brings us together. And this is one of those instances that, it was like 2018, 2019, early, when we're finishing up college, and he's just finishing up at Syracuse, playing football, and you just have this connection. And although we never met him in person, when you lose somebody like this, it just reminds us how fragile life can be. And as I was telling Chris earlier, just the impact that you have on people that you may never meet, and the connection, and just like how the small words go so far. So I'm happy to take this time to remember Rex, and he lived a full life, and it was taken away from him way too fast, too early.
Absolutely, and he definitely had that impact on us, so we'll miss you, Rex.
This episode is dedicated to Rex, and we are going to be listening to good music and thinking of him. So
absolutely.
Fly high, brother. Strap up, everybody. It's another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast.
Get on your horse.
261. We are here. My name is Ethan Shalloway. I'm joined by Chris Salona, your lovely hosts for 5+ years. Haven't missed a episode. And Chris, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, Ethan. Sitting here on a Friday. We're getting this out of the way before the weekend comes. We're recording, so we're preserving the sanctity of the weekend. It's been a good week. It's been a hard-fought week. Work's been busy. Back on the horse in training as well. The deload is over, and we're getting into some good stuff. And the weather's really starting to turn here. It's staying light out until after 7 p.m. And even like you wake up in the morning and it's 30, but like 30 degrees at the beginning of spring feels so different than 30 degrees in the middle of winter. So, everything is looking up, and I'm in a pretty good mood. I don't have anything to complain about. I'm feeling nice and spry and limber.
Yeah.
Yeah, how are you?
Spring feeling. Yeah, I'm doing well. There's been a few times this week where it's definitely cold in the morning, but then around 3 to 5, it's like peak, like 40 or 50 degrees, and the sun's maybe even out, and it's been great. We definitely had a lot of rain, a lot of stuff coming through, so that's tough to deal with, because you're just like, man, I just want it to be nice. But we're doing well. We're doing well. I'm excited for this weekend. I really am. We got March Madness is rolling.
Oh yeah,
it's fun. I feel in it. It's just exciting. And I'm like free with a lot of opportunities to do stuff, and that feels great. I'm not tied down to anything, but I have the whole world in front of me.
It's not a bad time.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So we're doing good, man. I cannot complain. I'm itching. Someone asked me if I had any concerts coming up. I think it was my buddy George. I was like, dude, I don't. I was like, I need to get some live music. Got some outdoor shows going to start again. Like, yeah, I'd love to get to a festival. Maybe go to a show at a pier.
Get out in the open air a little bit.
Get active,
it's about that time, Ethan. I have my first one of the year coming up on the 27th. So this upcoming Friday, I'm seeing Slow Mosa up in Boston with the fellas. We saw them open for I don't even remember who they opened for. It was one of those Helmet. That's right. It was one of those 90s bands. They opened for Helmet. And this time they're coming through, they're headlining, and myself and the fellas, we're going to head up, and we've been blessed with a Friday concert. I feel like, this friend group that I go to shows with, like they're always Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights or something. Really kind of jacks up the schedule and the weekly cadence. But this is good. We'll finish off a good
Friday's
week.
Massive.
Oh yeah, it's going to be huge.
Win.
So yeah. I'm looking forward to that a lot. And they're headlining, so longer set. And it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to that. So that'll be the first one of the year, and we'll kind of get that, get that system cranking a little bit. So
get
it'll be
the
good.
Ball rolling.
Exactly, man. Get some momentum.
Oh man, this is the time of year, dude. Start breaking out the Steely Dans and like,
Oh
I
yeah.
do enjoy some Dave Matthews at the turn of
Yeah.
the seasons.
Yeah,
So
man.
like,
Sit on the
just
porch,
this,
crack a beer,
yeah, dude.
take your
Some
coffee outside, all that stuff.
Doobie Brothers are coming back. There's a lot of
Those
good music
windows are
coming
rolling
out.
down in the car, man.
Yeah,
It's been a long time coming.
change the records,
Yeah.
put maybe the emo aside for a minute as we
Yeah.
try to be happy for springtime. It's good.
It's been a
You know,
tough winter too up here in the Northeast, and there's a Wonder Years lyric that says these Northeast winters turn boys into men, and
oh
this
yeah.
was a hard fought winter, so
This is
I'm
totally.
enjoying every ounce of springtime as we're on the doorstep here. So it's
I
gonna be a
mean, we
good one.
earned our spring,
We
right?
did, yeah. We worked
Earned,
hard.
not given. Like
Yep.
it is time for spring, and we get to enjoy. It's so funny too, because like usually I'm a fall guy. I love
Yeah.
fall.
But
Now,
this,
but the thing is, like, it's your favorite season is always the
yeah.
next
Like
one,
we
and
had this is the
spring,
equivalent
like
of like
this is my favorite
yeah,
spring.
man. Dude, the next one is always the best. Like this is the equivalent of like you had a really, really hard squat workout with like 7 or 8 sets. And right now, like we're unracking the weights from the bar and like putting them
Yeah,
back on the trees. And like it's
exactly.
admiring the work that we've done and the effort that we've put forth. So it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to seeing where the springtime takes us. And obviously, javelin season's almost here. And I know you got some plans for that. And it's going to be a good one. So this episode's coming out on March 23rd, and if you've read the title of the episode, we're going to be discussing Pearl Jam's 4th studio album, No Code. And Ethan, there's been an interesting thing going on, I think, both in our own lives individually, but also the life of the page. You know, the page turned 10 years old in February. The podcast just turned 5 years old, and it was really 10 springs ago, spring of 2016, that like we really hit our stride with the grunge genre and particularly Pearl Jam. And I believe this episode kind of has its roots in last Saturday, a week ago. I was driving to the gym and Red Mosquito came on, and I sent you a text. I was like, springtime 10 years ago, 2016, it was arguably the most pivotal time in our lives for music. It was my first spring in Iowa and your first spring in Lexington. And since then, I've been taking some time kind of reconnecting with a lot of those songs and a lot of those bands that meant so much to us back then, 10 years ago. And it feels good being back in that swing of things. And I'm excited that we have the chance to talk about it. And a lot of those feelings this week that we felt 10 years ago have kind of resurfaced within me, just thinking about, what these songs mean and what we learned from them and what we continue to learn from them. So I think it's going to be a fun and spirited conversation about No Code.
Yeah, it feels like a spring episode, spring album
I
too. It
think
feels
so,
like
yeah.
something to pick out, put the windows down
It's a
because
change, it's a shift, yeah.
a good driving album. And Pearl Jam, I don't know, they might be the best driving friendly band out of the big four, right?
I mean, they're
Maybe
definitely
Soundgarden will be up there, but like,
yeah.
driving to
Different
Pearl
styles
Jam
of driving. This is like, you don't have to drive 20 over the limit. This is just you're enjoying the trip from point A to point B with this band.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's gonna be a good one, man. I'm looking forward to it, and we're grateful for everybody that's supported us over the last 10 years with the page, over the last 5 years with the pod. We're particularly grateful for the people that offer us financial support to keep the podcast running. 5 years is a long time, and we've had a lot of people come and give their support, whether it be by listening or supporting us financially. And we're proud that we have a strong base of support over on Patreon. Those individuals are directly responsible for the continuation of this podcast. They keep the lights on over here at GBHQ. And we did have some movement last week where Abraham and Frank are at the top of the list of supporters on Patreon, and they remain as such. The Cracker Man is in second place, and the rest of the top tier of Patreon, who we like to thank, are the Blue Owl, Jamie Lynn, Carlene Salona, Doug Endy, What the Fuck Is Up Denny's, Nikki Six, Black Hole Sean, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Sherry Matthews, Eddie Vedder Got Me Through My Second Divorce, Gochu John, Russell, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, The Michael Dooley Project, A Bit Dusty, Ultra Mega OK, Heidi in Chains, Chris Buckley, and Looking California, Feeling Minnesota.
Cheers to everybody who chooses to support us.
Gang's all here.
Chris said we are very thankful for that. There's always more spots on the bus, so if you're feeling ready and time to make a move, head on over, check it out. It's not that difficult, and we really appreciate it. So,
if not now, when? And if not you, who?
Who is funding this, Chris?
Who's funding this? We have the answer to that, Ethan. We got the list.
We do.
Because people love lists.
Oh yeah, love a good list. So
absolutely, man.
All right, so we're gonna do a few things regarding this day in music. We have a few points. It looks like just two today, pretty small for March 23rd across the years.
A pretty
Um,
sparse list.
do you want to take the first one or the
Yeah,
second one?
I'll
Yeah,
take the
shoot.
first one. So,
All
on
right.
this day, March 23rd, way back in 1956, Elvis Presley's self titled debut album was released. And this album included the iconic blue suede shoes. This record spent 10 weeks at number one on the US charts. It was also the first chart topping record that was kind of strictly in what would become rock and roll. So, kind of definitely a trailblazing record here. And it went on to sell over 1 million copies at the time. I'm sure that number is higher given that there's been over a half century of time between then and now. But the king of rock and roll, he's no stranger to this day in music, and we're happy to kind of mark ground zero here on this day in 1956.
The king, dude, blue suede shoes.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. 56. That's crazy. Moving up to 29 years later, 1985, Creedence Clearwater Revival frontman John Fogerty, arguably best voice ever.
Some people say that
Some
he's
people
the best vocalist in rock and roll history.
And he scores his first number one album as a solo artist with Center Field.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Coach. Talking about songs that come out in the springtime. Like, Chris, this is big news. Actually, I'm breaking news. So, I signed a contract and I'm back in the softball league.
Yes.
I got signed to a 1-year deal, and I'm back. And spring training starts. We have practice in April. I'm in. Like, my dad texted me and my brothers that, you guys want to play? And I was like, of course I want to play.
That's fucking fantastic, man. I'm overjoyed to hear that. So let's
I got to get to the cage, man.
Let's get a player profile here. What type of player does Ethan Shalloway want to be? Where are we going to find him on the diamond? What type of hitter is he aspiring to be?
That's a really good question. So I think I'm gonna be center field, right? I think I'm
put me in, coach.
Put me in, coach. Exactly. I'm ready to play. Like, I think I'm gonna be in the center. I still got legs on me. This is I don't know what the age of the team is, but I'm guessing it's gonna be I'm gonna be the lower on the spectrum. So I'll be in the field. I am going to do my best to not just swing for the fences for a little bit. I got to get my swing back. So I don't want to. I like, no one can be like Ichiro, but like, I'd love to just like
be a catalyst, get on base.
Yeah, just kind of roping them right over the second baseman's head and the shortstop head. Just get in there, get the singles, and then hopefully hit some dingers too.
Dude, it's like what Billy Beane said. The only thing that matters, does he get on base?
Exactly. So
I don't care if it's a walk or a hit.
Once I get hot, I'm sure I'm sort of swinging for the fences.
You get
but
into the
I definitely,
groove sometimes,
I want to be able to. I don't want to start that too early and just popping out. There's nothing worse. I remember for a while, like I was like, I'm not swinging at the first pitch because if I popped up, I was like, dude, what a short at bat. I would be so mad if I get up and it's like it's done right away. I get really upset unless it's a dinger. But
absolutely,
I might have to watch a few.
Yeah,
get my chair out.
Ethan, as a man wiser than us once said, and I quote, "We'll beat the drum and hold the phone. The sun came out today. We're born again. There's new grass on the field." Put me in, coach. Ethan's ready to play.
Put me in, coach, dude.
I think it's time to give this game a ride, dude. That's gonna be great. Yeah, I'm excited as well. Opening day for me is around the corner. Crazy. This is gonna be my 5th year playing softball. Yeah, so I'm firmly in the prime of my career. We have a championship title to defend, and I'll be patrolling first base once again and batting leadoff as I typically do. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm in the best shape of my life. I had a great off season, and I'm ready to raise the bar.
That's awesome. Yeah, maybe. Wonder where I'm gonna hit in the lineup. I'd love to be leadoff. That sounds.
Dude, it's great. You set the tone.
I want to be like Schwarber. Like,
yeah. Well, the best thing too, you bat leadoff, you get the most at bats.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, I'm thinking about it.
Oh yeah. Hey, it's a great component of summer, man. I'm happy that you're going to be taking the field. It's something to look forward to every week.
Big deal.
Yeah, it is. It is a big deal. It matters a lot. So that's this day in music history for March the 23rd. And without further ado, as we like to say, I think it's time we get into the main topic of today's episode, which is going to be no code Pearl Jam's fourth studio album. Now, this record was released on August 27th of 1996, and fun little Easter egg in Pearl Jam's history is it was released 5 years to the day of Ten's release, the debut album, which came out on August the 27th of 1991. This was the first album that didn't have either Dave Cruzan or Dave Abruzzese at the drum kit. This is the first time that somebody not named Dave was behind the kit for Pearl Jam, as it was Jack Irons' time to play the drums here. And the record was recorded from, kind of summertime 1995 into the spring of 1996. And it was mastered and engineered and mixed and all that stuff in time for an August 27th release date in 1996. So this is my Pearl Jam album. This came out a month before I was born.
There you go.
It's just a month older than me, so it makes sense maybe why I relate to some of these songs, because we were born at the same time.
Chris No Code Salona.
That would be a hell of a nickname for like a utility player or something.
Yeah,
he can do it all. So
I mean, I don't know if you have a nickname yet, but I could submit it for your softball team.
Well, that's the thing about nicknames is you're not in charge of what your nickname becomes. So it's hard to say sometimes. But dude, No Code. This is such a good record. And, when we started getting into Pearl Jam, obviously you go to 10 and you go to Verses. But, after that, I think this one and then the fifth studio album, Yield, which we've done an episode on before, really, really connected with, like we said, back when we were first getting going. And, this record came at such an interesting time in Pearl Jam's history. Obviously 10 came out in 91, Verses came out in 93, then Vitalogy in 94. There was so much going on with this band. I mean, they took a rocket ship to the top of the charts to being one of the biggest bands in the world. And, you don't take part in a meteoric rise like that and come away unscathed. And the middle of the 1990s, there was a lot of traffic around this band. There was a lot of strife. Obviously, Dave Abruzzese was fired from the band after Vitalogy was finished, and Jack Irons comes in the fold. There were personality conflicts within the band. Pearl Jam also took on Ticketmaster at the time, and they were struggling to put together, tours, and they weren't able to secure venues because the venues had exclusive contracts with Ticketmaster. So, their success, as great as it was, it kind of suffered because of a lot of these things. And No Code is kind of one of I would say it might be the most pivotal album in Pearl Jam's history. And there were a couple things going on here that I think saved the band. First and foremost, prior to No Code in 1995, Pearl Jam played on Neil Young's record Mirrorball, which we did an episode on. And that experience really, really kind of got the guys together and kind of recalibrated them and, helped them see firsthand, what it means to be a lifelong musician, obviously taking part with one of their heroes, Neil Young. But that didn't really fix everything. And, the guys in the band had long admired Jack Irons. And when they brought him into the fold, that really did a lot to save the band, because it wasn't about the personality conflicts. It wasn't about the Ticketmaster thing. It wasn't about dealing with success. Jack Irons was in the room and they wanted to do the best they could. So, they bring him into the fold and he's just a force. He's such a great drummer, so unique relative to any of the other drummers that Pearl Jam had before or since. But even still, with the addition of Jack Irons, this time period was not without strife. There was a lot of conflict and some animosity brewing within the band. So at the onset of these recording sessions, Jeff Ament was not notified that the band was going into the studio until they had been there for a few days. And, you don't want to piss off the bass player, obviously, particularly Jeff Ament. And he was pretty unhappy with what his level of involvement was when he got there. And there were a couple of points throughout the recording process of No Code that he was kind of weighing whether or not he wanted to even continue in Pearl Jam. And, that's one of the other, great what ifs. If this band hadn't persisted, who knows what would have happened and what songs we wouldn't have gotten and when we would have gotten future songs if they would have ended up getting back together or whatnot. But I'm very thankful that cooler heads prevailed and they were able to kind of work through these things. And continue, because I think No Code is one of their better records in the sense of the way that it challenged its listeners and it challenged the fans that were hoping for 10 Part 3 or Versus Part 2 or even a follow up to Vitalogy. This one changed what people's expectation for Pearl Jam was, and I think this is the blueprint for More or less just about everything that Pearl Jam has done ever since. There's a lot of sounds here that you hear from Pearl Jam for the first time that we're well acquainted with on subsequent records like Yield, Binaural, even the Avocado album, Into the Backspacers and Lightning Bolts of the World. But Brendan O'Brien produced this record, as he continued to do for quite a long time with Pearl Jam. And he spoke about Jack Irons' impact on these sessions, and he said that everyone was on their best musical behavior around him. Stone Gossard also had high praise for the inclusion of Jack Irons, saying Jack's personality, maturity, and generosity have really helped us communicate with each other. So, you bring somebody like that into a fold that's just a crash course in professionalism. I think it kind of helps put things into perspective. And it seems like, given everything that was going on with this band, that's something that they really needed at the time. So I'm very, very grateful that Jack was game to do this. And, he helped save the band.
Yeah, thinking about this album, I really like the point that you made, bringing up Mirror Ball, being, played in '95 and being working with Neil Young, because when I listen to this album now, especially, you just hear so much Neil inspired jams.
100%.
The tone and the just the atmosphere that's created. I mean, there's harmonica. There really is, the guitar work is so Neil. I mean, this is the grandfather of grunge we're talking about with Neil, and he's his music is amazing, but you can just hear it all throughout this. And Eddie Vedder, he kind of leans into his Neil Young stage, right?
Yeah, he absolutely does.
He went full Neil Young, and then you have these, it's a very lyrical album, as most Pearl Jam, most Eddie stuff is, and there's a ton of one-liners. There's so much in here that we enjoy sending back and forth to each other, and we really did 10 years ago. So when we dust off this album to listen to and talk about, it's one of those things where it wasn't, say, reviewed by everybody the same. There's a lot of people that didn't enjoy it, but then you have the fans and the people that you can get into it. And I think there's so much there in this album. There really is so much. It's hard. Would you rate it above 10? I don't know if I would do that, but I'm not taking anything away from this album. I actually, it's a really good album. And that's the nice part about good musicians, is they can make stuff that doesn't sound the same, but does sound really good. And just jumping ahead to one of I really like this, for David Frick of Rolling Stones. He gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And I'll just kind of jump. Well, yeah, I'll read the whole thing, I guess. If anything, Pearl Jam's are vigilant and hopeful, if sometimes inconsistent pragmatists. They're empowered by platinum and unembarrassed by their sense of mission, willing to risk tripping over their own hard line to make a vital point. And they're not so self-righteous as to deny that, yes, success has its privileges. And this is the most important thing. For example, if you can't put out a glorious, gutless, or guiltless, mad blend mess of tunes and weird tangents like No Code when you're at the top, then what's the point of swimming through all the sewage to get there?
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to. We've talked about this, I think, the last month and a half. It's these guys earn the right to do a solo album. They earn the right to do the weird stuff, to go away, to make this music, to challenge the listeners. And although it doesn't necessarily commercially stand up to their best stuff, when you wear out that vinyl of 10, or you wear out the dirts and whatnot, then you go to Degradation Trip and you go to No Code, and you're it's like a breath of fresh air. It's a little different.
Yeah,
and I just think it's why not?
When you have a heater or multiple heaters in the beginning of your recording career as a band, you earn that right to break the mold. And I think your fan base needs to give you the opportunity to do that, and to accept that breaking of the mold with an open mind. And speaking anecdotally, we've been running Grunge Bible for 10 years, and we've posted songs from No Code countless times, and just about every single time we post it, somebody hops in the comment section with an anecdote about the fact that, they were raised on 10 and verses in high school. And then when No Code came out, they were super confused by it and they didn't really gel with it. But as they grew older, they saw the value in it. And I think this record, more than any other record in Pearl Jam's discography, has that kind of slow burn of a build of relationship between the artists and those who are listening to that art and taking it in and learning from it. I think it has perhaps, among the longest staying power in that build. And I think this is such a great album to spend time with over a long period of time and see what it means to you at 20 and see what it means to you at 30 and 40 and so on and so forth. And it's just really beautiful that, you can challenge yourself with a band that you at the time knew unbelievably well. I mean, there's people who probably, when No Code came out, they picked it up and they knew every single lyric and every single song that Pearl Jam had put out to that point. And this one challenged them in a way that they weren't used to. Pearl Jam experimented a little bit with Vitalogy, but this is completely different. The personnel's different. The space that they're coming at it from is different. And I absolutely love what David Frick said. What's the point of getting to the top if you're not going to, spread your wings a little bit and get into it? And it's, that slow burn is evident even just based off of the numbers with this record. So it comes out in August of 1996, and it sold 366,000 copies in the first week, much lower numbers than what was seen on Vitalogy, and especially Versus, which had the record for most sales. I think it sold damn near 1 million copies in the first week. And to this date, No Code has sold 1.7 million copies. So it went platinum, but I believe it was the first of their records to have not attained multi-platinum status in the sense that it hasn't sold 2 million or more copies. But I think, this is kind of that weird juxtaposition that sometimes the things that are most successful commercially are more successful critically than they are commercially. And I think, those that were able to approach this with an open mind and sit with it have really seen the value in it. And you can always tell kind of, you go back and you do your research about what people were saying about it in 1996 versus what people say about it now. To, allude to another review of this, Pitchfork gave this a 5.4 out of 10. And the reviewer for Pitchfork, those bastards, said No Code doesn't seem to be doing very well on the charts. Oops. That's probably due to the fact that each of Pearl Jam's albums are just mildly more disappointing than their predecessors, which isn't to say the disc doesn't have its moments. You've got the thrashing typical Pearl Jam song, Hail Hail, the bona-fide, not bona fide, Bono as in U2's Bono, the bona fide In My Tree, and the All-American Rock Out Habit. But most of these songs just drag, and that's good for nobody. And, that's when you're a person in the arena and you have to come up with an opinion on something that's new, sometimes you kind of make those, lapses in judgment, perhaps, because I certainly don't feel that way, about this one. But, even kind of popcorning back to what David Frick had to say, that was one of the best reviews that No Code got at the time, getting 4 out of 5 from Rolling Stone. Frick also went on to say, No Code sticks out of the surrounding bullshit. Major label rock albums that are really just 2-year marketing exercises in disguise. The ideological bickering in the indie sector that makes a day in the Russian parliament seem like a love fest with Rough House aplomb. It may or may not end up on top 100 lists in 20 years' time, but it sounds right for now. A midterm report from a band in fine, reckless fettle. Are we getting something out of this all-encompassing trip? Vetter wonders in present tense as the band summons up the grace and force of Jimi Hendrix's freak flag anthem, If 6 Was 9. That depends on what you're willing to put into it.
Yeah. I just think like all the bands that I grew up listening to that I really enjoyed their first few albums, and then I didn't necessarily I wasn't excited for the later albums like Dirty Heads and 21 Pilots. So some bands are just so important to my young listening, and I knew those first few albums so much, and I went to so many shows, and then they changed. Like I was listening to some 21 Pilots the other day, and I'm like, dude, they're still a great band. Like it stinks that. But like I get to go and enjoy the new stuff and like look at it differently, and like I'm it's not like I'm not a fan of the band as a whole. It's just I get to I was just more attached to the beginning, and so this one, like being met with so many, like you said, kind of critical reviews, I guess it's not surprising, with like that's how people kind of operate when they have a band that they fall in love with, and then like they didn't run it by you to change the way they do an album, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, and it's funny too, because if the listeners and Pearl Jam's fan base at the time was thrown for a loop, that doesn't extend to what the band felt about this record at the time. I think there was a level of intentionality with this one. Shortly after the record was released, Spin did an article where they interviewed a couple of guys in the band, and Eddie Vedder said that making No Code was all about gaining perspective. And Jeff Ament went on to say in that same interview, he said, "I guess we're constantly trying to find a balance. There are very obvious obvious times with this band when everything's been thrown out of whack, where things have felt crazy, where you're just going with the clip and there's no way you can go back and land. So consequently, there are times when we need to isolate to figure out what we are doing with our lives. So it's kind of one of those weird instances where you kind of know you're at a crossroads and you know that it's time to make a shift. And they were able to recognize that and go with it, even though it perhaps was uncomfortable, even though perhaps it would not be as commercially successful as it was before. And even also if, in the middle of that shift, when you have to decide where you want to go at that crossroads, if some people's feelings get hurt along the way, and they relied on the framework of their band and the framework of their relationships to get through that. And I think as we said earlier, having Jack Irons in the room is just a master communicator in what it in the sense of what it means to be in a band and make a record. It's kind of like a lighthouse at shore that helped them get to where they needed to go so that they could continue on their journey. And I think if it had this one not happened the way that it did, who's to say if Pearl Jam would still be making records, and who's to say certainly what their subsequent records would have sounded like. I think this is really the pivotal spot for this band in terms of the band's longevity.
Yeah, man, it's interesting that it's like in the beginning of the grunge Bible days, like it was all about debut albums, right? And now,
because how could it not be? I mean, all of these bands that we
be?
talk about hit home runs in their first at bat.
Yeah, and now it seems like we're coming into like our second act where we're talking about everybody's, very important like focal points of their career, like Alice in Chains splitting and Jerry going doing, and now Pearl Jam, like very important. We have the whole history book to look back on and see how it played out, which is
right.
Nice, but like
with the benefit of hindsight, which is also
with the benefit
helpful.
of hindsight. So I find it interesting that we get to talk about this transition, and I'm trying out some different things. I'm sure we'll get into the people that have sang and have writing credits, and it was a really collaborative effort from everybody. And
I guess except for Jeff.
Yeah, except for Jeff being left out of the room for the first. I wonder, did they ever comment how that happened? Like, was it like, oh,
I would need to do some more research as to what the
I would be pissed too.
Yeah, well, that's like after Bonham,
you didn't invite me.
Yeah, dude, like after Bonham died and Led Zeppelin dissolved, like there were several reunions between particularly Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and John Paul Jones, who to this day is still alive, as are Page and Plant. Page and Plant did a record together and they did a tour in the mid '90s, and for years afterwards, people always asked John Paul Jones, like, hey, like, how come you weren't a part of that? And like he would always say something to the effect of like, I guess those two lost my phone number or something. Like I always wonder how that happens. It's like, how, like in this day and age, like how do you like leave the house and like forget your wallet and your phone? Like how do you forget your bassist? But who knows? I think those answers are known only to those guys. But I'm glad that they were able to sort it out and get it fixed. And it's funny because like, Jeff had that experience, but as you just mentioned, his record saw the first time in Pearl Jam history that Eddie Vedder, or Pearl Jam published a song and released a song that Eddie Vedder didn't write the lyrics to, and that's Mankind, which Stone Gossard wrote and also sang on. To this day, it's the only time that another member of Pearl Jam has taken lead vocals on a song, and we'll be getting into that one a little bit later when we do the song by song. But it's always a give and take, and I'm glad that they were able to kind of get through these stormy waters here, and not only get through it, but come out with something that was pretty beautiful and super impactful, even almost 30 years later.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I said, it is a really fun album to go through. There's ups and downs. There's rock out songs. There's your Pearl Jam's rock songs, and then you get the Eddie Vedder like spoken word type stuff that we really appreciate. And I think his songwriting ability is it's one of my favorite parts of him as an artist and the band.
Absolutely.
Right?
And one other thing that I want to mention before we get into the song by song, my personal opinion as it relates to Eddie Vedder's voice is like this was when he was reaching his prime in terms of the versatility that he had with his voice. And I think Eddie's vocals from like 1996 through like the touring band 2000 stuff, at the turn of the century, like that was his peak vocal ability. Like there's some unbelievably great live shows from, the late 90s. I think the Yield tour and then, the Binaural tour and things like that. And I think he was really coming into his own in terms of the versatility that he has, in the sense that, you have your screamers on this record, and you also have like unbelievably nuanced vocal parts that are kind of super subdued and brooding. And that's once again that's a pretty big shift for a guy like Eddie, who, for better or for worse, was kind of championed as, like, he was like the rageaholic vocalist from the early '90s, and he was, the anger, and he was the standard bearer of it. Certainly after, especially after Kurt Cobain died in 1994, and he just kind of like turns the scales on everybody with something like
Right.
this.
Then hands it over to Dave Grohl to yell.
Exactly, and he's
He's
still
like, all right,
screaming.
he's still
you're,
screaming.
you're
Yeah,
my favorite toy.
he's gonna need to pass on the screaming to somebody else.
Yeah, somebody else is gonna
But
have to
it's
take it
true.
because
Yeah,
Dave can't
Eddie
do
had
much
that.
more of it.
Yeah, Eddie had that angry, vocal performance for a while,
Yeah,
that everybody loved.
yeah. So let's
Yeah, let's
let's
get
get
into
into
it.
some song by song here, and I always, obviously, as we said, we have the benefit of hindsight when we review these records, especially. I mean, this record's almost 30 years old, but I like to put myself in the shoes of somebody who maybe on the 27th or 28th of August in 1996 went to their record store and picked this thing up, and you put it into your CD player in your car, you drop the needle on the record at home, and Pearl Jam, right? Like, Verses, Drop the Leash, Rear View Mirror, Even Flow, all that stuff. Corduroy, for example, Spin the Black Circle. And the first song you hear is nothing like any of that. It's Sometimes, which is this like super subdued, almost brooding song that's like got delicate vocals, and it sounds unlike anything really that you'd heard from Pearl Jam until that point. And it's like,
Hmm.
you're like, I don't know what this is going to be, but I'm kind of getting the sense that this is not going to be like what we have so far from this band. And I think you get the
Hmm.
message early on that things are going to be different.
Yeah, it's an intro to the album, right? I mean, it's like 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes, and it's just very soft, and him, singing over it, and it just feels like it's like a soft launch. It's like, all right, like here comes a different album than you used to. And we're gonna challenge, and we're gonna have some fun doing it. So, yeah, I just view this as like, I mean, it's just like an intro song for me. It's nothing like, you know, nothing crazy, right? It's just like a nice melodic,
You're
little
easing
two
into it a
minutes.
little bit,
Yeah,
yeah, which
he's
is
leaning into life.
there's something to be said for that. You don't have to bust into life. You can just kind of lean in a little bit, because
They say
sometimes
that for
busting
song
in is
two.
perverted and gross. So like sometimes you just got to take it easy a little bit. But it's kind of interesting though, because you have Sometimes, and then the second track is, I would consider it to be like the most conventional Pearl Jammy song that you find on this record, which is Hail
Yeah.
Hail. And like this, like it's kind of funny, like if you put yourself in the shoes at the time, and I'd love to hear people's perspective from, if they got this when they were a teenager in their 20s, when this was new. You hear Sometimes like, I don't know what this is going to be. And then you hear Hail Hail, and it's like, okay, like this is Pearl Jam. And I think there's a very central part of this record that we hear in the opening verse of Hail Hail. And Eddie Vedder sings, I don't want to think, I want to feel. And I think that sets the tone for the theme of this record, in the sense that, Eddie Vedder's always been somebody that's kind of concerned with his mortality and his place in the world and other people's views of him. And I think this is like the central point of this, where he's kind of grappling with a lot of different things, and he's longing for kind of a returning to innocence, and a returning to not having to be so pragmatic and adult-like in a lot of ways, and just kind of recapturing, what it means to not have everything that you do be so weighty and important. And I think it really sets the tone, and we'll come back to that one on a bunch of different tracks. I think like In My Tree, for example, and I'm Open come to my mind with that theme. But right from the jump here, you're kind of telling what's going to happen here. But this is a great song. It's high tempo, there's good energy to it, and the musicianship is top tier. No matter what type of stylistic change Pearl Jam wanted to make on this record, like these guys are unbelievably great musicians, and anywhere that they want to take it, they're going to do a great job.
Yeah. Moving on to song number 3, Who You Are. And Chris, this may be my favorite song on the album.
Yeah,
It
I'm
like,
into this one.
yeah, like this is like the sound that when I look back at the album, this kind of like is a good theme and a good like representation of the album. It's got this like kind of jungle drums going on,
Yeah,
like a very like consistent like, I don't know, cowbell or something like playing through it. And Vedder just kind of like, um some of my favorite vocal performances
it's
I've
very
talked about. It's like
melodic.
very melodic, kind of in the middle of the road, not yelling, just like singing like really peacefully. And it just has a great build and a great song. I mean, the lyrics are great too, and it's just like I said, it just represents this album really, um, really well, and I just love it. Like it's a good listen. It's an easy listen.
Yeah, it is. I love the harmonies that are present on this record at different on this song at different points. That's something that I think they're first starting to experiment really in a big way on this record. You know, you don't really hear a ton of harmonization on the prior records. And one of my favorite parts about this song is kind of the call and response of the chorus. You know, at the beginning, you know, you have "Who are we? Who we are," and the song ends with "You are who you are," and it's just kind of, you know, you could interpret that so many different ways. I think another great one liner from this song is "Can't defend fucked up men." That's true as ever. That'll always be true. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is once again, you know, this is kind of in the vein of Sometimes, where it's something that, you know, we haven't really heard from Pearl Jam that much. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, I think this is absolutely a sleeper pick that, you know, could be the best one on the record. It's up there.
This is how, like, this just has the Eddie Vedder kind of, it's like the live look into your life and totally existential like talk. In the beginning, it's like I stare at my reflection in the mirror. Why am I doing this to myself? Losing my mind on a tiny error. I nearly left the real me on the shelf. And like that just really sets up like this album. It's very introspective and talking, and like I mean we've had plenty of times where you lay on your bed listening and you're recreating yourself, and we're gonna talk about some other lyrics, and like it's just this is one of those like
And this is the stuff that got me
who
into Pearl
you
Jam at the
are,
time,
right?
because you
Yeah,
can
this
really
is
deconstruct this shit.
right. This is like the base, the pillars for like all of our GB speak that we
Yeah,
have,
exactly. Yeah, this
right?
is
Like
yeah. When you start getting to writing about Pearl Jam, it's stuff like this, and it continues on the fourth song, "In My Tree," which Mr. Pitchfork condescendingly referred to as like a Bono ripoff. But I'm into this one as well, and I think that kind of theme about innocence, like in a weird way, I think this song is kind of a follow up to songs like "Not for You" and "Corduroy," which were very heavily about the public's perception of Eddie and what the pundits and the greater public wanted Eddie to be, kind of jamming the square peg in the round hole. And it's like, now that you're famous, you kind of need to comport yourself in the way that we expect you to. And it starts right from the jump here, kind of an interesting beat similar to like "Hail Hail" in a way that we're not really used to with Pearl Jam. But some of the lyrics: "Up here in my tree, newspapers matter not to me. No more crowbars to my head. I'm trading stories with the leaves instead." And it's just kind of like a conscious decision to leave that heaviness of expectation of others behind in the Versus era and in the Vitalogy era, and just kind of reclaiming like what you want your life to be and what you want to be responsible to and who you want to be responsible to. And the closing lyrics to this song I absolutely love. Got back my innocence, still got it, still got it. And it's just kind of like a triumph where it's like, I've gotten through these really, really hard times. I still have what makes me human. And that's a really, really important part.
I don't really know if I understand the bona fide comment that
I
was
don't
made.
either.
I don't
I think
really
like
see
Bono
that.
obviously has this reputation, rightfully so, of like being so dramatically over the top to some points, transforming himself into a caricature of himself, which like I love you too, and I love Bono, and like I do see it sometimes with him. That guy's
Yeah.
doing the most.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bono's the man. He's the shit.
Yeah. Do you think Eddie's doing it? I feel like he's
I
doing
don't think
that.
so. I think it was just low hanging fruit, and like Pitchfork Man was looking for like a zinger to get in here, and
They love a good metaphor or a good
yeah,
like analogy to
yeah, dude,
some
they
hot
won't let they
hot
Pitchfork
point.
doesn't let the truth get in the way of telling a good story.
Yeah. But yeah, this one is like the drum track on this like just carries the whole
Dude, Jack
mood of the
Irons, man,
song. Yeah. Yeah. This is like
such a good drummer.
just hammering away and ins and outs. It's a lot of fun. It's like it's a well put together
Yeah,
song. This
people
is a good
always,
one.
everybody always says that Dave Abruzzese is their favorite Pearl Jam drummer. You have the Abruzzese camp and you have the
Oh
Cameron
yeah.
camp, and like people need to remember that Jack Irons was a drummer for fucking Pearl Jam, and he did a great job. Like he was both in terms of his personality and what he brought to those sessions, but also what he brought to the kit and what his kit brought to those songs. Like it was the perfect thing that they needed at the time, and you hear that all up and down this record. He just has a certain nuance that Dave Abruzzese certainly didn't have. Dave would have beat the piss out of his kit on these songs, and that's not what these songs needed. And Matt is just such a technician that I think there's a feel here that Jack can give that really no other Pearl Jam drummer would have been able to.
And I think we get into it on the next one, right? And this is where I said,
Smile.
dude, smile. This is where Ed is really in his Neil Young bag on this one. Like this is he pulls out the harmonica. It has like this, like the drum like cadence is it's so Neil Young. Like yeah, this song is like, I mean, it could be on Mirror Ball for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. I forget which song he said this about, but Eddie Vedder gave an interview once where he was like, "Yeah, like I took a songwriting course with Neil Young. Like I think I get a B minus on this one." And like this is, you know, they would not have made this song prior to having spent time in the studio with Neil Young.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
as you know, you have the harmonica obviously, but even just like the swing of this song and the melody of it, it's
Really
just,
nice chorus to it. Really nice
oh
chorus.
yeah, it's classic. You know, it's a classic song here. You know, I miss you always. I miss you already. I miss you all day. This is how I feel. Like that's just. Don't it make you smile when the sun don't shine? It don't shine at all. Like
Yeah.
it's just a really really good song, and you know, it's kind of I'm happy that it kind of hits like in the middle of the record too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hitting the stride here, and like at this point in the record, like you're kind of getting a sense of like what this thing is going to be. You know, with this being the fifth song, and you know, you still have like, you know, 8 more to go.
And this is not a cheesy use of harmonica either, right?
No, exactly.
This is a good break, good like
This is an
couple bars of
appropriate
the harp.
deployment of the harp.
Who was playing it? Was it?
I'm not sure. It may have been Ed. I would have to go back and double check the album credits there. But.
Yeah, it's one of the, like I said, the use is just perfect. Right? It comes in, it cuts up like the right after the different verses, and
Yeah, Eddie Vedder plays the
Eddie
harmonica
Vedder.
on
There
Smile.
you go, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, he was feeling Neil Young vibes for sure,
yeah.
and like I said, done really well. This is a great tune.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think a favorite of mine from this record, as a lot of them are, as I'm sure I'll say that F word, the favorite word, very frequently as we round out this discussion here. But Off He Goes is such a good song. And Eddie Vedder said that he said the song Off He Goes is really about me being a shit friend. I'll show up and everything's great, and then all of a sudden I'm out of there. And you know, there's Pearl Jam has a lot of leave-in songs. Obviously, you have like Mini Fast Car, you obviously have Rear View Mirror, and then you have Off He Goes as well. And you know, this is a really really great song. I love kind of like the acoustic element to it. It's long. It's 6 minutes long. I believe it's the longest song on the record, and it's a really great storytelling song. And I think, you know, that element of kind of wordy storytelling is kind of similar from like the Neil Young formula, and also another one of Eddie Vedder's great influences, Bruce Springsteen. Like this could be a Springsteen song in my opinion, in the sense of just the way that the story unfolds, and it's yeah, it's really really great. And you know, the entire lyrics I think are really really great. You know, so I approach with tact, suggest that he should relax, but he's always moving much too fast. It's kind of like Eddie Vedder's auditing his behavior in his life, and how he's conducted himself over the last couple of years, dealing with being one of the world's most recognizable musicians at this point, and like how it's affected him. And it's great, you know, especially down at the end, you know, the end of this song. For I rub my eyes, for he has returned. Seemed my preconceptions are what should have been burned. Nothing's changed but the surrounding bullshit that has grown. Now he's home and we're laughing like we always did, my same old friend. Until 9:45, I saw the strain creep in. He seems distracted, and I know just what is going to happen next. Before his first step, he's off again. You know, sometimes you have to leave, but you always, you know, there's an aftermath to that, and it seems like for the first time he's kind of taking stock of what that means to, you know, to leave a place, and what happens in your wake. And this is a great one to hear live too. It's
Yeah.
it's a favorite.
Oh man, it's such a fun lyrical song and journey to go on, and I think of people like this where it's just
Classic
like,
storytelling.
Off he goes, right? I love the.
Hey, we've all been there, man.
Said he'll see me on the flip side on this trip he's been taking for a ride. He's been taking too much on, and one of my favorite. There he goes with his perfectly unkept clothes. I love that. Perfectly unkept clothes.
Yeah. That's just great songwriting.
It's good songwriting, right?
Yeah, and
it's like the singer songwriter Americana.
Yeah, man,
coming
dude,
out.
his Neil Young bag.
Dude, yeah.
Now when Eddie Vedder plays live, he even has like the weird hats to prove it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He took a
Welcome
class,
back,
dude.
Neil Young. Dude, Eddie Vedder nowadays is like this weird cross between Neil Young and Jeffrey the Dude Lebowski.
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
just, it's awesome. Like I'm into it, but it's just kind of funny to see. I always wonder like what 1992 Eddie Vedder would have thought of 2025 Eddie Vedder, 2026 Eddie Vedder or something. But
Yeah.
hey, it's part of the journey, man. We grow and evolve, and off he goes as a heater of a track.
It is.
As we get into the seventh song here, Habit, this is where I always have the question about album sequencing and why bands decide to sequence their songs in the way that they do. You have Off He Goes, which is like just kind of the long song stretching your legs. And then Habit is probably like what I would say is like the grungiest, most aggressive track on the record.
Yeah. Very
Lucan
heavy.
also is too, which we'll talk about, but that one's kind of almost more punk. And I think Habit's like, screaming Vetter. Like I think I wouldn't have thought twice if this song had appeared on Versus, for example. And I really, really love this song. Eddie Vedder's writing about a lot of things that are happening around him. And, the opening lyrics are, seen it happen to a couple of friends, see it happen in the message it sends, taking off for what's an obvious fall just to see what the fuss is about. And the chorus says, never thought you'd have it. And it's obviously talking about addiction. And by this point in, mid 1990s Seattle grunge rock scene, there've been so many people that have struggled with addiction and people that have lost their struggle with addiction. And at the time, throughout the 1990s, Mike McCready, Pearl Jam's guitarist, was struggling with alcohol addiction and alcohol abuse. And then, he went on to struggle with, painkiller addiction and whatnot too. So it's kind of an interesting commentary, both about the greater scene and what those struggles can do to somebody, and it can happen to anybody. And when it's happening, like in your recording studio with one of your band members, I'm sure it kind of frames it in a different way. But yeah, this is a really, really good song, one that I hadn't really given much time to until really recently. It's
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's an intense song, right? It has intense, like you said, it's about addiction and never thought you'd have it. Like it's an interesting way to frame it too.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it for sure. Like you said, going through it and yeah, one of the heavier, grungier songs on the album, which is good. I mean, I think I like I like the softer stuff a lot on this
Yeah.
album. So it's
There's
nice
a
to throw
great
this in
McCready
there.
guitar solo to close this sucker out too. It's just, Mike at his best.
Yeah. All right, moving forward to maybe one of the stars of
We have the
the
most
album.
history with this one, Ethan.
Yeah, this is Red Mosquito we're about to talk about, and just a cult favorite for us,
Oh
and
yeah.
maybe hopefully for a lot of people. It has an incredible finish to the song, but this is like, I mean, some more Neil Young. I said like there's some Canned Heat in here that I
Yeah.
love, some Canned Heat core, and just very dynamic, up and down, and kind of pulls you into like kind of settle in your thoughts, right? It has like there's a lot going on, and then it's like, all right, let's talk type of
I
thing.
love that you mentioned Neil Young too, because this song has its origins in a story that involves Neil Young. So in the summer of 1995, Pearl Jam and Neil Young were playing a show in San Francisco, and Eddie Vedder was stricken with a pretty serious bout of food poisoning.
Oh yeah.
He's on stage, he gets through 7 songs, and he has to stop. So Eddie Vedder leaves the stage and he goes to the hospital, and in his stead, Neil Young comes back out, and they finish Pearl Jam set, just kind of jamming, playing a lot of stuff from Mirrorball. And he kind of it's really interesting too, because Eddie Vedder's talked about Red Mosquito after the fact, and he's like, honestly, if that happened to me now, like I think I was treating it like making too big of a deal about it at the time. He's like, I'd probably finish the show now. But I mean, honestly, like, with much respect to those people that were robbed out of a proper Pearl Jam show in summer 1995 in San Francisco, I'm glad he left the stage, because if he didn't, we wouldn't have Red Mosquito. And dude, the guitar, like that buzzing guitar just sounds like a bug that's in your ear, like flying around, just like a pest. It's just like a perfect pairing to, the title of the song, Red Mosquito.
Yeah, it's such a a random song title that makes it stick out, right? For
Dude,
me, like it's like I remember the first time it's like, I listened to this Red Mosquito
yeah,
song
like
by
what the
Pearl
hell could
Jam.
this
I'm like,
possibly be about? But then you have the lyrics, I was bitten, must have been the devil. He was just paying me a little visit, reminding me of his presence, letting me know he's waiting.
yeah,
And then obviously the end,
Yeah.
the outro here is perhaps, Ethan, this might be the most quoted lyric between you and I, even more than Into the Flood Again, even more than We Pay Our Debt Sometime. If I had known then what I know now. This has been subject to many Instagram captions, both on Grunge Bible and on my own personal page. I've actually I have the distinction. Back in the day, I used to say the phrase, if I had known then what I know now, so goddamned always, that two of my past girlfriends have hard launched me on Instagram with that as the caption. If I had known then what I know now.
That's hilarious. That's so funny, dude. Yeah, I mean, and you know what? You could say it at the end of those relationships too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd start
Especially
with it and
those
end
two,
with it.
man. If I had known then what I know now, dude, the devil was reminding me of his presence.
Yeah, dude, this ending, so like it has this, and this is like people talk about it a lot. And this is the wormhole, right? That you get into a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit, but this is the thing where you hear something in a song, you're like, all right, I want to feel that exact same feeling on another song, like, and you try to find other songs and playlists that have this feeling. It's this driving
do
drums, like
do
kind of
do
like a
do do
guitar.
do
Yeah,
do
it's like a
do do
swing back
do
and
do
forth, and
do.
Vedder's just, just barking out, if I had known then what I know now. And well, not even barking, just like it's just singing like beautifully, and you're just like, it's awesome. It's so
Yeah,
good. And like I said, it's a great lyric. It's so true. It comes up time and time again. It's not being said, ironically, like it's very true.
yeah. If we had known then, Ethan, what we know now.
If we
That's
had
the
known,
one constant audit. I mean, 10 years ago we were saying the same thing. Like, if we'd known then, and now, dude, if we had known what we thought we knew then, if we knew.
it's a never ending cycle,
Always, dude.
right?
It never ends, dude. This song will never tire out, and is certainly it's a favorite.
No matter how much you know now, you're always going to say that in the
Yep.
future. Like
It's always more. There's
there's
always
always
more.
more. There's so many things that I thought I did exactly the way I'd want to, and then you look back and you're like, man, I could have did it this
Hey,
way.
man. That's what it's all about, dude.
Paradox, yeah.
What do you say? Song 9. Do you want to take a trip to Lucan's, Ethan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go to Lucan's, man. So this song also has a tie-in to a Neil Young related project. So the Mirrorball project, which Pearl Jam also cut, I Got It in Long Road for Merkinball, the EP they put out in conjunction with the Mirrorball project. But Neil Young, or Eddie Vedder rather, was not incredibly present for that project because he was dealing with what he ended up calling a pretty serious stalker problem. And he had to, kind of go off the grid for a while and get that dealt with. And this song is about that. It's about avoiding a stalker and like not being able to go and, stopped at the supermarket. People stare like I'm a dog. I'm going to Lucan's. I got a spot at Lucan's, referring to the bassist at the time for Mudhoney, who was named Matt Lucan, who prior to being in Mudhoney was also in the Melvins. And my favorite thing about this song, well, there's a couple things. First and foremost, back in the day, when Grunge Bible was first getting started, Instagram made the shift that you could only post 15-second videos, and then you had the ability to post a 1-minute video. And Lucan was great because it was the only Pearl Jam song that you could post that was less than a minute long of like the actual substance of the song. So I could post the entire song in one video and it'd be no problem. My other favorite thing about this is when they play it live, and to a lesser extent on the studio album as well, but when they play it live, you can't understand a single fucking thing that Eddie Vedder is singing, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, he's just enraged and just going.
Yeah, the only part that I understand is when he sings "I'm going to Lucan's, I got a spot at Lucan's," and then the last line, the last I heard, that freak was purchasing a fucking gun.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Crazy, intense minute.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, yeah. You put it all there. It's like that's a great example of like a quick short story in a song, and very very succinct. I don't know.
yeah. Sometimes that happens.
It's a crazy story, dude. I mean, the lyrics, like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's a winner.
And we're moving to present tense, dude. Another very important, important song.
This song, like, we could do an entire episode on this song. I think you could make the case that this is Pearl Jam's best song ever.
There we go. All
I
right, we'll
think
make it.
I
Let's hear
very
it.
much think you could.
Let's hear it.
I
Let's go through
absolutely
it
think you
then.
could. It has like the delicacy to it that we've come to appreciate with Pearl Jam, that was kind of born around this time. Obviously, the song has such a forward momentum, especially once you get into after the second chorus. There's that big instrumental part. It has unbelievably earnest songwriting. I mean, like, I don't think Eddie Vedder's really ever had a throwaway lyric. It's kind of funny, like, you think about somebody like Kurt Cobain, and people are always asking him what his songs meant. He's like, honestly, I'm just like putting shit together, like, and he was kind of coy about what songs meant. Chris Cornell, like, didn't really want to speak about extensively about what certain songs were about, and like Eddie Vedder, like, you don't have to ask him about a song like this. It's presented plainly for you, and it's harking upon that theme that I think we heard with with Who You Are and with In My Tree and Off He Goes, and later on, as we said, with I'm Open. Like, it's just kind of like recalibrating and reconsidering. And I absolutely love those lines. You could spend your time alone redigesting past regrets, or you can come to terms and realize you're the only one who can't forgive yourself. It makes much more sense to live in the present tense. And that's probably the best advice that Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam have ever given us. And it's juxtaposed with some of the verses here. Have you ideas on how this life ends? Check your hands and study the lines. Have you the belief that the road ahead ascends off into the light? Seems that needlessly it's getting harder to find an approach and a way to live. Are we getting something out of this all-encompassing trip? And that builds into the second chorus there once again, where he's telling you that it makes much more sense to live in the present tense. And then my favorite parts of this is you have that really, really big build towards the end of the song. And then at the end, you kind of have this like arpeggiated guitar part with some drumming that just extends. And, they extend it when they play live, and, McCready will jam over it a little bit. And it's just really, really beautiful. It's a perfect soundtrack song. It's a perfect reflection song. And the song had a weird second life during the days of COVID, when The Last Dance was like the only thing on TV. They used this as the final song in the Last Dance documentary that was about the Jordan era Bulls. And at the time, this song actually skyrocketed to #1 on the iTunes charts in conjunction with its inclusion with The Last Dance. So there's kind of like a weird Bulls connection here too. And it's just it's one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs, and I'll never ever get tired of it.
Yeah, I love the outro. I mean, the whole thing. And so I was thinking, like, if you're if you're considering going to therapy out there, like the short way of doing it would just be put on this song, sit outside
And
and
think about it.
answer all the questions that Eddie posts.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
he basically there's like 7 or 8 like really like deep conversational questions in here
Dude, it
that, like,
starts with
yeah,
the first line. Do you see the way that tree bends? Does it
does it
inspire?
inspire? Like that right there, like, it could be a half-hour conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And are you getting something out of this all-encompassing trip? Like, that's a lot, dude. I mean, and like all these songs, like, you could just listen, and like you said, he sets it up delicately. The ending is like it allows you to breathe and think. And it really, and like the whole idea, present tense, and like living in the
Yeah.
present tense. And this is something that we have shared thoughts about, and talked. And like, I mean, what does it mean to be present? And like,
Yeah.
how to really, because that's, I think everybody in their life is like, I'm gonna slow down time. I'm gonna take this in. I'm gonna make every moment count. And it's a really paradoxical thing and hard thing to do, because time doesn't stop. And
Right.
it's really hard to feel like you always feel like you could have did a better job. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough question, and it's a tough thing to do. So trying to be present all the time is a challenge,
It
and very
is.
important.
And I think this is kind of like the central theme of what Pearl Jam has always been about. I mean, you have a song like Present Tense, and even one album later on Yield, you have a song like In Hiding, where, it's funny how things change so much. It's all state of mind. And even going forward, into the 21st century with a song like I Am Mine, I know I was born and I know that I'll die. The in between is mine. Even to some of the stuff that he talks about on Dark Matter, like Something's Gotta Give, different things like that. Like, there's just always been this fascination in Eddie's mind. And when he puts pen to paper talking about, like, we're only here for a little bit of time. Like, we better make sure that we're spending our time feeling. We're not just spending our time knowing and recognizing things that we feel, and that we ask the hard questions of ourselves and the environment around us. And I think this is kind of the bedrock of that. And it's a really, really important song.
Yeah, it is a really good song. That's a good case for it being their best song. I mean, why not? Why not be the best song,
The
right? I mean,
defense rests.
yeah. Moving on to a very special, special
The true
song.
best Pearl Jam
The
song.
true best Pearl Jam. We have Mankind.
Let
Um,
Stone sing, baby.
let Stone sing. So yeah, Stone Gossard is the lead vocals on this. And I'm not gonna lie, Chris, this is like I think a really solid 90s rock and roll
Yeah.
song. It's not Pearl Jam, right? I mean, it
No.
doesn't, there's a lot of things that points at not being, but like if you're into like the lits and the weird alternative indie rock and some of the jams that you get, like listen to the song. Listen, like he has like that nasal, singing voice that like, we're suckers, everybody's suckers for in another way or another. Like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
shitty singing, sign me up. Like I'm in. And but this song, like I was just listening to it
His
earlier
voice is better
today.
than I've given it credit for in the
It's
past.
unique and and
It
like
is.
when it goes into like I said the ending jam where it's like there's like a build up and it's like just guitar and him singing over and like it kind of jams, man. It really opens up and it's like it's just like a fun jam. And
Yeah.
so kudos to him, dude. I
I
mean,
would have
that's a
loved to have
dream.
been in the room at the time where it's like, all
I
right,
want to
Stone,
sing.
like we're gonna, yeah, like I wonder how
I
that,
want to
I,
sing.
I
What'd you
wonder if,
say? I
do you
want to
think,
sing.
yeah, do you think Stone came right out and said it was like, hey, like I have this song, like I think I can sing it, like I want to sing it, and everyone was like, okay, or if he did that thing, it's like, like a child, like alluding to the fact that they want a candy bar. It's like, hey, like the candy aisle's over there, like, hey, like this song I just wrote, like hey Eddie, by the way, and Eddie eventually was just like, fine, like we'll do it. Like I would love to have known like what the conversation was like, in order to one try this song and secondly have it make the record. I think it's really great, and I'm glad that they did that. Like this is cool. Once again, going back to the
Yes.
David Frick comment, like what's the point of getting to the top if you're not gonna try some different things out? Like
Yeah.
Stone like
You're not
was
gonna let
was
Stone
pivotal in
sing.
the creation of Pearl Jam. Like what the fuck was the point of like writing most of the music to 10? If you can't take the microphone a couple of years later.
Dude, I'm a big proponent of that too. Like, I mean, I've been in bands and jammed, and it's like, yeah, man, like it's your time to shine. Like, you never had a solo, go ahead. Like, oh, you won't like switch instruments. Like,
Yeah,
it may not work, but like it'll be fun, and we'll have great
dude.
time doing it.
What's
And then
got the
but
whole
it
world
did work.
faking?
Yeah, it did work. So,
Yeah. It's always a fan favorite when they play it live too. Everybody gets fired up for Stony Boy to take center
yeah,
stage.
exactly. I mean, like you said, maybe when it came out, people didn't understand it, but now, like, can't get enough. It's
Yeah,
special.
absolutely.
Got mankind for the first time. Like,
Yeah, man.
oh
Oh,
man,
it's
this next one, here we go.
should we just read all the lyrics?
I think so, dude.
Yeah.
This one is like I I don't even know if present tense was like, yeah, a therapy session. This is like the when you go home after the therapy session and you like continue it on your bed for
Well,
sure.
they spent the previous 11 songs alluding to this problem or alluding to this conversation and these thoughts, and like when I'm Open comes around, like they cannot make it any more obvious than this.
Yeah.
A man lies in his bed in a room with no door. He waits, hoping for a presence, something, anything to enter. After spending half his life searching, he still felt as blank as the ceiling at which he's staring. He is alive but feels absolutely nothing. So, is he? When he was 6, he believed that the moon overhead followed him. By 9, he had deciphered the illusion, trading magic for fact. No trade backs. So this is what it's like to be an adult. If he only knew now what he knew then. And then you just have that like continual response of I'm open, come in, I'm open, come in. And then the music lightens up a little bit towards the end, and the final spoken part, lying sideways atop crumpled sheets and no covers, he decides
Love
to
it.
dream up a new self for himself.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it's
Oh
all
man.
about, dude. Like the amount of times we used to send this back and forth to one another when we were like 19 and 20 and 21.
Honestly,
Like,
just hearing that, like it just I remember it so vividly. And like it's funny because um it could be used. We could do it today, right? Yeah, it's
yeah.
like we could still do it. I mean, the questions are still good. Like,
Dude, we used
I
to
love
apply
that
this to
lying
everything.
atop the
Like,
bed on
I
crumpled
remember
sheet.
like in Javeliner and Hammer, like we'd be trying to make technical changes to our throw. And it's like, all right, like I'm just going to dream up a new self for myself now, or like, what do you want your career to be? Who do you want to be? Like, I can just decide to be a new person at any time. And, yeah, this is a great one. And
It
it's
is.
just so easily digestible too, because he's just speaking.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and that's a it's a great tool that he used, and
Yeah.
like he just thinks because he has a good speaking voice, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's very therapeutic, and obviously the atmosphere of the music is very, um, atmospheric, or it's very like space like, and
Yeah.
it just puts you in that mood
It
to
lends itself to contemplation very, very
contemplation.
well,
Yes, exactly.
which you need. I mean, that's Pearl Jam is out of any band from this time period, like they are the band that lends itself best to that
That's
type of thing. And
that's what I was about to
we've
say
spent
too.
so
Yeah.
much time just thinking and listening and learning and wondering. And it's important, that's a good lesson from this record. Like the older you get, like you still gotta wonder sometimes, your
Yeah.
story's not set in stone, and you can kind of, wherever you want to take it, you can. And they
Mhm.
remind us of that, as blatantly as they possibly can with I'm Open.
Yeah, not a lot of other bands that we talk about have can execute this like, yeah, therapeutic like
Yeah.
contemplation type stuff. Usually it's a little bit more in your face of, I don't know, just like, but this is like open ended. I'm open, like it's
We
exactly
all
what it
are,
is.
man.
Like I'm open to it. Maybe Smashing Pumpkins. Maybe no, I'm just kidding.
Billy
They try.
Corgan, he
They
just
do
had
it.
a birthday.
You do it this. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
People have birthdays all the time. Yeah, I
Billy
made the
Billy
decision
Billy
to
had
not
one.
shout out his birthday on Crunch Bible.
Oh man, good old Billy.
No, hey, that's how it happens. It's kind of funny, like this whole record. There's a lot of weighty ideas. There's a lot of new sounds, and it makes your brain work hard. It makes your mind move. And I think it's fitting that Around the Bend is the last song. It's the 13th song. We've had 12 songs that have challenged us, and then Around the Bend is this kind of lullaby type song that just kind of, we kind of eased in with Sometimes at the top of this album, and you kind of ease right back out with Around the Bend.
Mhm.
And I think, in terms of track sequencing, those are the, for what the record was trying to accomplish, it's great that, Sometimes begins it and Around the Bend ends it. A couple of subdued tracks that just kind of let you sit and catch your breath a little bit after everything that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like, he's wishing us well, and he says that in the very first verse. Like
Yep. I'm
he's
wishing you
sending us.
all well.
He's like, "I'm wishing you a
Thanks,
well
Eddie.
mind at peace within yourself. Covers up, I cast you off. I'll be watching as you breathe. I lie still. You move. I send you off the round the bend." It's great. It's a nice send off. Like it's exactly that. Yeah, like I said, if you're looking at the album as a complete, a complete album, and coming in with Sometimes having the journey that you have, and then finishing, it's like a debrief, and it's like one more, like, at the end of the movie when you have closing credits.
Yeah,
This feels like that, and I do enjoy when artists kind of, button up albums and do
totally.
stuff like this, and it gives you, a little processing time, or just, just not a hard stop is nice. So
When you feel that the project finishes, like you have some closure. I think closure might be a little bit too strong of a word, but that concept of like, okay, like, the work here is done. Like we've reached the end of this, and it does that incredibly well.
my work here is done. So
And Ethan, I think our work here is done. That's no code.
that is no code, dude. Chris No Code Salona showed up.
Dude, one final note about this album. I love the artwork.
Yeah, I was literally saying we got to bring up the Polaroids.
Yeah, dude, Eddie
Eddie's
Vedder, absolutely. He's a big
Ed's a big
Polaroid guy.
Polaroid guy.
He's got that one story about trying to tear up Polaroids that he tells like every other show.
Hey, we
And it's
got
got
it.
that the record, the front of it's a fold out, like folds out into four quadrants of like, it's like 156 Polaroids or something that Eddie Vedder's taken. One of them's like of a swollen foot that he had. One of them's of Dennis Rodman's eye. And then when you open it up, you have like the weird like Illuminati like triangle with an eye in it that you can see. And Pearl Jam is, this was the era where they started paying a lot of attention as to how they packaged their records. And I'm all for it. You're the biggest band in the world. You could spend a lot of money on packaging, so you might as well.
Yeah, this is why you get to the top, so you can post pictures of Dennis Rodman's eye and your swollen ankle on the on the front of your newest record.
That's what we all aspire to, right? The worm.
Yeah, the worm, dude. I'm open to it.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, man, it's a lot. It's a good it's a good album art, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
just fits. You know, it's a little, it's weird. It's recognizable in its own way, just like
Hmm.
this album is.
Yep. It's a pivotal part of this history of the band, and we're all better for it.
Yeah, man, pretty great.
Yeah, man. Back in the
That
Pearl
wraps up
Jam zone. It's
back in the
2016
Pearl
all
Jam.
over again, Ethan.
Yep. Who knows? Next week, yeah, maybe we'll do. Yeah, actually, next week we have a
There's
special,
a very special episode coming next week.
but
An
maybe we'll get
annual
some more.
episode, some might say.
But we'll have some more Pearl Jam down the road. But this is the roots, right? This is where it all started. This is we were challenged by Eddie Vedder 10 years ago, and
Yep.
we took the challenge, and
And the challenge remains.
yeah, no, it just yeah, it changes a little bit, but the questions are still the same. The answers may have changed, but um, and us as people, but I've changed by not changing at all. So
Absolutely. Oh, that was good.
okay, that was, like I said, that wraps up No Code. So thank you. I guess this day in music. Let's do not
Songs
this
of the
day.
week?
Yeah, songs of the week. Yeah, we've
Unless you
already
want to
done
talk
this
about
day in
Elvis
music.
Presley's studio album again.
I do.
Or
Our
John
center
Fogerty's
field.
Center Field. Put me in.
Put me in, coach. Let's pick some songs for the people to listen to this week.
All right.
You're
I'm
up.
thinking about, but ultimately I'm not going to pick a song from No Code. I think we all know this album really, really well. I am going to pick the song that just started playing in my headphones as soon as No Code stopped. I'm going
Is
to
it
pick.
No Way by Pearl Jam?
No, no.
Okay,
For some reason, Fearless by Pink Floyd just started playing.
Nice.
And it's such a good song. I've been kind of reacquainting myself with some of like the classic rock stuff, and Pink Floyd's one of them I've been listening to a little bit more, and Fearless is a great song, and I think people should listen to it. So I'm going to select that as my song of the week.
That's amazing. I don't know if I put this as a song, but I don't think so. I was just listening randomly. It came up on a playlist, but it was Radiohead, "All I Need," and
Yeah.
it is such a good song. It has this like heavy kind of bass electro music that they do, and it's just like it's not over the top. It's really good. It's delicate,
Hell
and
yeah.
it was super good. Like Radiohead, they get a lot of crap, but we could get into a Radiohead episode pretty well, I
Oh
think.
yeah. I think we might have to at some point.
Yeah. They're one of those bands that hasn't gotten any time.
Yeah.
Like any time.
Hey, and we got nothing but time over here
Got
on the
nothing
Grunge
but
Bible
time.
podcast.
Yeah. I mean it's sad that maybe the Butthole Surfers got more time than Radiohead did. There's a few bands that are thrown in there that they jumped the line of Radiohead, but
That they
we're
do.
just waiting for the right time. But this song, All I Need, really, really beautiful song.
It's a good choice. I like it.
All right then.
I think that wraps up episode number 261 of the Grunge Bible podcast.
We did it. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you to
Thank
our
you,
producer,
Ethan.
Drew McFadden. You still need to text me and call me, but other than that, I think that people want to hear from Drew too. So
I think they do. They've been
so,
jonesing for it.
so if you guys are out there, if you think about leaving a review of the episode, leave a review, but tell them that we miss Drew. I want
Yeah.
everybody to write about Drew and why we
Yeah,
want him
let's
back
get a
on the
write-in
pod.
campaign going.
All right, guys, that's it.
That's it. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you in the near future. Ethan, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, brother. And rock and roll, stay heavy.
Cheers, guys. Rock and roll.
Bonzer.